This is your BRC News Report. Now, before I begin, there's a word that I will use consistently throughout this report, and that word is fascist. And the definition states that a fascist or fascism is a right-wing, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, and the forcible suppression of opposition. Remember that. Fascism typically opposes liberalism, democracy, communism, and socialism. Remember that. This is the Texas Democrat House Rep Nicole Collier for Dallas-Fort Worth. And on August 18th, after returning from a 2-week quorum-breaking walkout protesting GOP-led congressional redistricting, House Democrats were required by Republican leadership to sign a permission slip agreeing to be under a Department of Public Safety escort if they left the chamber. So in case she tries to leave the state again, they can arrest her first to prevent another walkout. Most returning Democrats signed this ridiculous document, showing their weakness and cowardice. Representative Collier refused, however, calling it an affront to her dignity and autonomy. As a result, she remained inside the chamber, effectively confined, and spent at least 2 nights sleeping at her desk, turning it into a form of civil protest. Yes, you heard me right. Texas House Rep Nicole Collier was locked in the chamber Monday night after refusing to sign her rights away, because this is a fascist regime running the U.S. government. Now, to be clear, the U.S. government has never been on black folks' side. More like right behind us, ready to stab us in the back at a moment's notice. But there's levels to this thing, or at least there used to be, before Trump the chump came on the scene, along with his paid-for Congress and Supreme Court. And let's not forget his MAGA cult of idiots. This is what one of Trump the Chump's Texas minions had to say about their plan to take rights away from their opposition. On Monday, Speaker Dustin Burrows, Republican for Lubbock, Texas, said, "We are done waiting. We have a quorum." And he said these things because this is a fascist regime. You see, Republicans are expected to pass the new congressional map, which would give them 5 additional white U.S. House seats in the 2026 midterms, so that black people don't have any representation where most of the black people live in Texas. It's also important to note that the so-called permission slip, the document that lawmakers were asked to sign, agreeing to leave under DPS escort, was introduced and enforced by GOP House leadership. I really hope y'all picking up what I'm putting down. The enforcement was carried out under the authority of House Administration Committee Chair Charlie Gerwin of Fort Worth, Republican, who reportedly warned Collier that she would be subject to arrest if she tried to leave the Capitol without signing the form. Anyway, back to the House Rep Collier. She isn't just sitting in protest, she's also taking legal action and has filed a habeas corpus petition in Travis County, arguing that the GOP's requirement to sign the escort agreement amounts to unlawful confinement since she was already present in the chamber and not absent. The petition argues that the House rules allow for compelling attendance only if a member is physically absent, not detaining one who is already present. So once again, a black woman stands up for herself and her people. So tell me why every black Texan didn't descend on the Texas Capitol to protect this black woman. Why are we not doing that right now, as she represents Dallas-Fort Worth, a mostly black community? Do we really have this many cowards in our ranks? I'm really asking, because the lack of response to this point has been embarrassing. The Fort Worth representative remained in the chamber for several hours, telling reporters outside that she could stay overnight and possibly until Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, and she is still there. Now, a small protest, mostly white people, did start outside the Capitol and in the lobby. The protests over Collier situation continued until 10:30 p.m. when the Capitol complex was shut down. At least 4 protesters were arrested when they refused to leave the lobby. And there's more to this story. A credible threat on social media prompted the Department of Public Safety to evacuate the Capitol Tuesday evening. No one was harmed, but the building remains closed as the investigation continues. The timing of this is shady for this so-called threat. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Governor Greg Abbott, Trump's head Texas minion, who put out the fake threat just to close down the Capitol. Because when you have no morals or ethics, you are capable of anything. This story is about more than redistricting. It's about democratic principles and representation. With the redistricting vote expected any day now, the outcome remains uncertain, but the message is clear. This protest is far from over. Republican lawmakers in Texas are still set to vote today on a Trump-backed redistricting plan aimed at flipping 5 democratically held U.S. House seats ahead of the midterms, clearing the way for this racist vote. In other news, Trump the Chump's administration continues its aggressive immigration enforcement strategy. A new ICE detention facility dubbed the Cornhusker Clink is being established in Nebraska where nobody goes. The facility will be dubbed the Cornhusker Clink, which is a play on Nebraska's nickname of the Cornhusker State and the old slang term for jail. The name follows the vein of the previously announced Alligator Alcatraz and Deportation Depot, the detention centers in Florida, and the Speedway Slammer in Indiana, because these soulless cowards think this is a game or a joke they're playing as they destroy people's lives and leave children abandoned. This degenerate is Trump the Chump's Nebraska minion, Republican Governor Jim Pillion, who's getting the Cornhusker Clink all ready to go for his massa. Meanwhile, National Guard deployments to Washington, D.C. persist amid broader policy changes, including revoking security clearances for dozens of intelligence officials and initiatives to monitor immigrants' social media to perceived anti-American content. Because this is a fascist regime. Kind of feels like the old McCarthy days when they were out here looking for communists like Angela Davis. If you still think they ain't coming for us next, it must be nice and peaceful in that fantasy world you living in your head. The necessity to build a Black united front on a global scale has never been more urgent. We are clearly under attack, both nationally and internationally, and yet we still fall into their trap. Right now, we are not split between so-called Black liberals and Black conservatives like the recent debate, if you can call it that, between Amanda Seals and the 20 Black conservatives on Jubilee would lead one to believe. No, this isn't a red or blue thing. No, the real division is the group that hates themselves and wish they were white versus the group that loves themselves and wishes white folks would leave them alone. And before you add your mundane comment about color being a made-up construct, yeah, I already know that because I read. However, the melanated brown people that took the word back and put power behind it and liberation behind it is where I'm coming from with the word Black to describe myself, my community, my culture, my power, my liberation. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you are missing the point. If you think the problem is what we choose to call ourselves and not the constant attacks on our community, then I have no idea why you're even watching this video. You should turn it off immediately. This report was brought to you by the Black Revolutionary Collective. The BRC is an organization that I am the leader of, and we are focused on building our own institutions, educating and protecting Black communities everywhere. I love you, Black man. I love you, Black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.